Hi everyone and welcome to this video. It's going to be my first ever travel tips video. I've done quite a few travel tip style blog posts on Melodian, but I've never done a travel tips video, so I thought it was about time I addressed that and did one. And the destination is going to be Orlando, Florida, mainly because it's the one place that I have been to more than 2 times. I have actually been to Orlando, Florida 3 times. I went for the first time in 2011, then 2013 and then 2015. We would have went in 2017 because we want to do it every other year ideally, but I had a very small baby at that stage, so we couldn't go. We would love to go this year. I don't know whether or not it'll happen, but we shall see. But my partner and I, Phil, absolutely love Orlando, Florida. It is a really good destination to go as part of a couple, but I'm also really looking forward to doing it as part of a family with our little daughter. But this video is going to concentrate on my top tips for going to Orlando, Florida as a couple, because that's all I have experienced. I haven't experienced it going with a child yet, so maybe I'll do a follow-up video on this once we've done the whole Orlando holiday with Rose. But yes, I've got 10 top tips which I hope you'll find useful if you are planning a holiday to Orlando, Florida. It is just a fantastic place to go on holiday. You're going to eat loads, you're going to spend loads, but you're going to have so much fun. It is a place for young kids and old kids and big kids like us. So my first tip, if you're part of a couple, is to stay on iDrive, or giving it its full title, International Drive. It is, if you've started looking into any holidays in Orlando, Florida, no doubt you will come across International Drive. You will come across people talking about International Drive. International Drive is like the big tourist strip basically, but it just has everything that you could possibly need. So we have stayed in the same spot every time we've went. We stay in a place called the Avanti Hotel, and it's in a really nice part of iDrive. Not that there's not nice parts, but this is just a particularly nice spot. It's tree-lined streets, it's super clean. You've got tons of restaurants on your doorstep. We've got Denny's across the road. We've got Joe's Crab Shack down the street, which is one of my favourites. On iDrive there's a plethora of restaurants. Brilliant for eating cheap in, or there's medium priced restaurants, there's higher priced restaurants depending on what you fancy. There's also lots of fun activities to do, so there's mini golfing, there's Ripley's Believe It or Not, there is the Orlando Eye, which is a brand new spot. Well, it's not totally brand new, I think it's about probably nearly 3 years old now. And then on either end of International Drive, now International Drive is miles long, but on either end there are 2 outlets. So you have to go there. I'll talk more about that in another tip though. It's such a convenient location because you're so close to Disney, you're so close to Universal Studios, and you're so close to SeaWorld. And I presume if you're going to Orlando, Florida, you're going to do the theme parks. So it's a great place to base yourself from. Plus it means, because there's such good transport links, it means that you can probably get away with not renting a car. Phil and I have never rented a car in the 3 years that we have been there, because on International Drive they have the iTrolley, which is like an old-fashioned sort of bus that you can take, that takes you up and down. There's numerous stop-off points, and we would just get a weekly ticket, which is very, very reasonably priced, and it just means that we can hop on and off at our own pace, and it goes as far as the outlet on one end and as far as the outlet on the other end. So it's really, really handy. And also what you'll find on iDrive is that most of the hotels run a free shuttle bus to Disney and Universal and SeaWorld, which is amazing. And again, it means you can get away pretty much without renting a car. The only benefit of renting a car is that you get to the places you want to get to faster, and if that's really important to you, then you would do it. But for us, for the added expense of renting a car, we just wouldn't really do it. My next top tip, and it's a really important one, it is to budget and to factor in tipping as well, because you're in America, the land of tipping. You just don't tip the people who serve you at restaurants, you tip the bus lady or the bus man, you tip the cleaner at your hotel. So just think about those things, because over the course of a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, however long you're going for, that's going to add up to quite a bit. So, and it is common courtesy to tip 15 to 20%, so just factor that in. And like I say, think about your budget. How much do you have to spend? You don't want to get yourself into debt. We've never got ourselves into debt, but we've been able to enjoy, and I've splurged on a Kate Spade handbag, but a lot of our money goes on food, so just be prepared for that. You tend to eat out a lot and you tend to spend a lot on food. So I would just recommend bringing a credit card with you for any big purchases that you may make. So, you know, if you want to buy like an expensive camera, or you want to buy a laptop, or you want to splurge on a Marc Jacobs bag or something, you know, always think if you pay a credit card, one, you have time to pay it back, and try and go for an interest-free credit card. But two, I just think you always have, maybe this is an old-fashioned thinking, but I just think you have a bit more protection when you pay on credit card. The other thing I would say is get a debit card that does not charge you for cash withdrawals when you're in the States, because that could end up being quite expensive for you if your card does charge you. So I have a Santander card which doesn't charge me. I often think that moneySavingExpert.com has really useful information on cards and the best cards to get for traveling to different destinations, so definitely check them out. What I also find useful as well is when I'm there, I tend to jot down, at the end of the day, I tend to jot down everything that we spent that day. That might seem a bit anal, but it really helps. It really opens your eyes to what you've actually spent, because you might think you've only spent, you know, $50, but really you've spent like $90 because you forget about that latte that you bought, you forget about that bottle of Coke that you bought, you forget about the cuddly toy that you bought, and all those things adds up. So I just think it's good to keep a note, or else just keep an eye on your online banking when you're away. Do something like that. Just be aware of what you're spending. Next top tip would be to get theme park tickets in advance of going away. So don't wait until you're in Orlando to buy theme park tickets. Basically, we always get our theme park tickets from Attraction Tickets Direct, and we tend to get the combination ticket, which allows us to visit Universal and Disney throughout the 2 weeks whenever we want. So that's basically a very flexible ticket, but it's an expensive ticket and the price goes up every year, but you know, it's worth it. If you're going to Orlando, you know, I just think you want to experience it all. You want to experience all the theme parks. So we can go, like I said, to Universal, and there's 2 main parts to Universal. There's Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure, and then there are 4 main parks at Disney. There is Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, Magic Kingdom, and Epcot. And you just want to visit them all. The first year that we went, we just chose, I can't remember what the name of the ticket was, but it just allowed us to go to Universal and SeaWorld and Busch Gardens, which was really, really good. But we sort of thought, oh, we'll leave it until we're in Orlando and decide whether or not we want to do Disney. Basically, towards the end of the holiday, we decided, yeah, we definitely wanted to go to Disney. And in our hotel, there's usually people there ready and willing to sell you tickets for the different parks. And we were able to get a discounted ticket for Disney, but the catch was we had to go on this timeshare tour. In Orlando, there's lots of timeshare apartments and villas and all that sort of thing. So they took loads of our details, and then we got signed up to that. And basically, it meant we had to do like a 2-hour tour of this timeshare place, and then we got taken to Disney. But we thought it was worth it because we were getting a discount, but it just turned out to be the biggest pain in the bum. And I just wouldn't recommend it. I would just recommend getting your tickets before, just because it's so much handier. And I would never miss out on Disney now, so we always get a combination ticket that allows us to go to both. The next tip is to factor in some downtime. This might seem a bit silly, but a lot of people that go to Orlando, Florida, go do the theme parks every single day and like basically burn themselves out. And if that's what you want to do, work away. But I personally need to fit in some downtime and get my energy back, and we tend to do the parks one day on, one day off. But even on one of the off days, we're usually doing something. We're either shopping at the outlet, we're going to the mall, we're doing mini golfing. But I would just say, have a few days where you're sitting by the pool, reading a book, listening to music, and just chilling out and getting your energy back, like I say. Because in Orlando, when you're doing the theme parks, you are walking miles every day, and it's really hot and it can be hard going. But it's like so much fun. But I just think you don't want to go home absolutely exhausted. You need to fit in some relaxation time, especially if you're going as a couple. That first year Phil and I went, we really tired ourselves out, and sometimes it's just nice to have a day or two, just the two of yous, and to just relax together and enjoy each other's company. So I would definitely recommend that. My next tip is to eat sensibly. I'm not necessarily saying to go and eat healthily. I'm just sort of thinking, just before you go, think about the fact that you are going to be eating out for most of your stay. Most of the hotels on iDrive, you know, don't really offer breakfast. So it would be pretty standard to eat out at breakfast, eat out at lunch, and eat out at dinner. Plus you've got some snacks in between. So you end up spending a lot of money on food, which was the biggest shock for me the first year I went. You know, I was just a bit disgusted at how much we spent on food, but you need to eat and you need to drink, and you know, you can't get away from it, but you can do things to help save yourself some money. So make use of any supermarkets that are nearby. Maybe you're staying by near Walmart or something like that. So, you know, use them to buy some nice fruit and vegetables for yourself, to buy some multi-pack bars of chocolate, multi-pack bags of crisps and nuts and drink and things like that, because you don't really want to be like constantly buying fizzy drinks while you're out, or constantly buying snacks when you're at the parks. You sort of want to bring them with you, because you're probably going to be guaranteed that they're going to be cheaper in the supermarket than they are at a theme park. The other thing is, in the morning we would tend to go to like a buffet restaurant, so we can like stock up and eat loads at breakfast, because I think breakfast is the most important meal of the day and really sets you up for the day. And if you're going to a theme park, you need plenty of energy, so you don't want to be going to a theme park having just had a bit of cereal or a bit of toast. You need a big breakfast. So all you can eat or buffet style breakfast place is great. And then usually another tip would be to bring a Tupperware container with you and like put some of the muffins in there, and they would do for a snack. That's what I usually do. You can usually take a banana or an apple with you from the buffet, because you've paid to eat, so you know, you can bring some things and have them later on. The Americans and the people at these restaurants would not blink an eyelid. And also bear in mind that American restaurant portion sizes tend to be quite large. So if you're not super hungry during one mealtime, why don't you just share a meal? That could be an option. If you don't want to do that though, but you find that you've got quite a bit left over from your meal that you would maybe want to enjoy later that evening or the next day, then ask to take it away in a container. Again, the American waiters and waitresses would not blink an eye at that, and it's just a lot more done there than it is, say, in the UK. Some of you do want to eat healthily on holiday. Rest assured that most menus offer a healthy, low-calorie options, salads, you know, things like that. But also, if you want to overindulge, I would just say go for it, because if you're doing the theme parks, like I say, you're going to be walking miles every day, and you can afford to eat more than what you would do back home if you're like me and don't really do that much back home. Like, I am very active on holiday, so it means I can have a big breakfast, I can have a big lunch, I can have a big dinner, and I can have dessert. And when I get home, very rarely would I have put on any weight, just simply because I am burning it all off. My next tip would be to indulge your inner child. If you're going to Orlando, Florida, you're going to have a good time. And in places like Universal and Disney, they want you to embrace your inner child. So don't feel weird about wearing the Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse ears at Disney. Don't feel like it's strange that you want to buy a whole load of toys when you're there, because you will. You'll just go back to being like 5 years old, and you'll just want to buy lots. Because I think the first year I went, I didn't really maybe embrace my inner child as much as I should have. And then, you know, in the next lot of years, I've definitely, like, now I collect the pins at Disney, whereas the first year I wouldn't have even thought of doing that. Maybe next time I go, I'll actually buy Minnie Mouse ears. I've never actually done that. But, you know, it's such a fun place to be. And I would just say, let go of your inhibitions, just fully enjoy yourself and indulge your inner child. My next tip would be to wear comfy shoes and bring a backpack. That might sound really boring, but you will want to make sure that you're comfortable. I think trainers or a really comfortable sandal with good cushion soles are really important. Believe me, again, in that first year that I went, I brought what I thought were comfortable sandals, but they really weren't, and my feet were cut to pieces. And it did put a bit of dampener on things, because if your feet are sore, then odds are you're going to be quite grumpy. So do not bring brand new shoes with you. Break them in before you go. I personally just think trainers, or like I say, comfy sandals work a treat, but also pack some plasters in your bag in case you find that your shoes are rubbing against your little toe or the heel or anything. You just don't want to be uncomfortable. Also, I'd recommend bringing a backpack with like a spare change of clothes, just in case you do a water ride and want to change. bring snacks with you in that backpack, bring your tickets with you in that backpack, bring a mini first aid kit in that backpack just in case. And I just think a backpack is a lot more comfortable to wear than like a handbag or something like that. You know, you can put them on your shoulders and then your hands are free. And also there'll be a lot of lockers at the different parks. When you're going on a big ride, there'll probably be a locker for you to put your stuff into, and a backpack just makes it easier because you can just throw the backpack in there. And plus, if you buy anything at the parks, which you probably will, you can put that in there too, so you're not like carrying around lots of plastic bags. My next tip would be to plan out your days at the theme parks. So upon arrival, either get a leaflet that lists the day's activities, or if you're going to Disney or Universal, you probably want to download the apps, which will help you plan your day, help you plan what rides you want to do, and know the queue times for those rides, because the queuing time could be 1 to 2 hours for some rides, for example. So you'll want to base your trip on, you know, queue times and that sort of thing. And it just means that you make the most of your day at the theme park. It just makes a lot of sense. Phil definitely is the one to plan out of the two of us. I'm more like willing to go with the flow, but it makes sense because you don't want to be going on a ride at one end of the theme park only to go to the other end of the theme park for your next ride. You want to sort of do them close by each other. And then if you're in Disney and maybe want to meet a character, look up the times that the characters will be available and plan your day around that. There'll also be a lot of live shows happening at the different parks, so you'll want to check those out and see what time you want to go to those. You'll want to think about what time you want to go for lunch at. Sometimes you may want to go to a fancy restaurant at Disney, and you would need to book that well in advance of going. So think about that as well. My next tip would be to do the outlets. So I've already mentioned that the outlets are on either end of International Drive, and they are big outlets. And these places are fantastic to go to if you're really into your fashion, if you're really into your tech, because there's plenty of stores to indulge in. So and I like to stick with the American brands. So I like to shop in the likes of Fossil and Kate Spade and Banana Republic in Forever 21, because you can guarantee that they're a lot cheaper there than they are in the UK. I would recommend going to the outlet if it's going to be a particularly really hot day and you maybe don't want to go to the theme park in a blistering hot day. Similarly, you probably don't want to go to the theme park if it's forecast to rain all day. Not that that happens very often in Orlando, Florida, but there are a lot of thunderstorms sometimes. So, you know, look at the weather in advance of going and see when would be good to go to the outlets. And as I also mentioned, the iTrolley, which runs the length and breadth of iDrive, will take you to the outlets, and you can eat pretty cheap at the outlets. They have lots of food courts in them, so you can go to Subway or, you know, you can get a pizza or something, and it's all pretty reasonably priced, which is good. And my last tip, tip number 10, this is definitely one for couples. It is to try and go to Orlando, Florida in off-peak times. So Phil and I, we tend to go in September, so we're avoiding that really busy July-August period. Whereas if you go in September, not only are the queue times a lot less because there's a lot less children at the parks, but it's also not quite as hot as it is during July-August. It's very, very hot in Orlando, but September tends to be a little bit cooler, which is nice. And again, if you're not really a big sun person, you might want to think about going October, November time. Generally though, it's recommended that you try and go spring, autumn time if you're from the UK and you want to avoid the big crowds. Well guys, that's my top 10 travel tips for going to Orlando, Florida. I hope you find them useful. I'd love to know if you're currently planning your holiday to Orlando, Florida. Is this the first time that you're going? Have you been multiple times? I'd love to know. If you have been before, are there any tips there that you think that I've missed out on? Everyone's experience is different, of course, but I'd love to hear from you. And I would love as well to follow up this video with a top tips for traveling with a small child, because fingers crossed we'll be going sometime soon with our daughter Rose, and no doubt that will be quite a different experience from going as part of a couple. But until the next time guys, bye!